everyone. This is not a drill.
Now, back to the Jim and Mickey Show.
'Cause I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away.
Welcome back and happy holidays. This is our Christmaka, if you will, edition of the Jim and Mickey Show. I'm Mickey White here with Jim Garrity, and we have a very special guest here to discuss one of the most important parts of the holiday season with us, at least to me. The holiday spirit is often referenced, but never more so by our next guest, Neil Dewing. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, booze is not your only thing, right?
No, it's not.
No, he eats as well.
I do eat. But no, I also do tend to opine on politics and culture.
Jim, you've got all the details on this because you're the detail guy.
Neil is a senior contributor at the Federalist, a senior editor of Pocketful of Liberty, and as much as we appreciate his political insights, we are meeting with him about a crisis, and that crisis is relatives visiting for the holidays. And thus, we will need booze.
Yeah, lots of it. So,
in-laws in town for a couple of days. What are you recommending that can give me a nice, pleasant buzz and make them a little bit easier to deal with for their seemingly endless visit?
Well, aside from just hitting it straight out of the bottle, there are a number of seasonal mixes that you can do. There's some, the traditional ones, of course, and I've got a couple suggestions there for that. And then there are some newer ones that you can find that a lot of people have come up with some creative.
Isn't the idea of kind of being a craftsman at bartending making a comeback?
Oh, absolutely, in a big way. And that's one of the actual contributions that hipsters have made to civilization. Like, yes, that is it. As far as I can tell, they have actually, this is their main thing, and this is what they will be remembered for.
When we put them on trial, this will be the evidence for the defense.
Exactly.
We gave you this.
And
why is that? Why did they bring it back?
Well, they have this emphasis on crafting and getting away from the mass-produced corporatism, all that stuff. So they started putting an emphasis on bitters and old recipes. Like there was something called root tea that tastes a lot like root beer, only it's 80 proof. Oh. And it's actually phenomenal, and it's this old colonial recipe that they dug up and resurrected. So it's actually been very worthwhile.
Where is that available?
You can find it actually in the Virginia ABC, which is kind of nice since their selection is so terrible generally. But you can special order it through their catalog. Most ABCs will be able to order it through their catalog.
Excellent.
Or liquor stores.
No, see, that's good information. If they don't have the booze you want, make them order it for you.
If it's in their catalog. I spent the last week and a half trying to chase down something called an allspice dram for a drink that I'm working on.
I saw the pictures. Now, explain to us what exactly that is.
Well, it's basically a rum infused with allspice and cinnamon, and you use it in very small portions in a drink to give it sort of a Christmassy taste. So,
because allspice can be super powerful.
Yes, that's the thing, and so a little bit goes a very long way with that, and it's just adding.
And that's a rum-based drink.
The rum. You could probably use vodka. The rum probably gives it more of a sweetness and more of an actual taste to it. But it basically just keeps it from spoiling.
Understandable. Now, Jim, you're not a rum man. You prefer bourbon, correct?
I'll drink almost anything put in front of me. And in fact,
that's my problem.
That's what I love about you, Mr. Garrity.
I'm easy to please. If I needed to sustain, if I needed to sustain drinking for a serious period of time over an evening, and for whatever reason beer or something would not be appropriate, I probably would do rum. That's one that I can handle in large quantities over a long period of time. But bourbons and whiskeys are kind of my straight to, hey, I'm having a good time this evening. Let's go with that selection. So, Neil, any suggestions in that area?
For bourbons or whiskeys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there are just tons, actually. One I've been sipping on lately is Russell's Reserve, 10-year-old bourbon. Very tasty, a little spicy, got a nice roundness to the flavor. The problem with your bottom shelf bourbons is a lot of times they'll have sort of a flatness to them. They won't have all those little nuances of flavor. They'll be okay. They'll be palatable, but you spend a little extra money on something that's been aged a bit, and it really pays off. So
Okay,
Russell's Reserve is the one that I would.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
There's a rumor circulating amongst my friends that some of we'll call them lower shelf bourbons are only on the lower shelf because they've been run through the same barrels as a top shelf bourbon. Is there any truth to that?
Actually, that is a little dirty secret here about the liquor industry, is that there are a few places in the country that distill this stuff and age it, and they're all these different brands come from a few different sources. So you're getting, with just the minor differences in terms of aging and the barrels and that sort of thing, which can be significant, but minor differences. You're getting the stuff at Costco. The bourbon at Costco was actually judged to be on par with several top shelf bourbons.
So that's good for the listeners to know as well. You
is.
don't always have to spend as much money to get
Yes.
a quality liquor.
Yes, it's never a question of I spend this much money and this is the quality I can expect. You have to find out, one, what you like and drink that, and two,
Amen.
yeah, if it's in your budget, that's great. There are a lot of great options out there for every budget. So.
Neil, I have a question. Of those bottom, I don't even know how you would qualify what qualifies as bottom shelf, but of the ones, let's say you go to a bar that doesn't have a spectacular selection of whiskeys and bourbons, what's your pick? I'm kind of curious because there are a couple I go to, and I'm curious if there's one that's significantly better than the others.
Let's see. Well, I honestly, I'll drink Virginia Gentleman if it's there.
Okay.
I don't seek it out. It's really, I tend to go for middle of the road when I go out. But if it's well whiskey, I've never really had a problem with Virginia Gentleman. Dewar's is fine. It just depends on
That
which.
could be like your new last name. You should really change that to be your Twitter
Neil
handle.
Dewar's.
You should make that your Twitter handle.
It would be less confusing for people. A lot of times people
It would make
Frenchify
so much more sense.
my name. They try to class it up like DeWing.
Well,
And
that's what I was looking at it, and I'm like, it's doing.
it's doing. Like doing something worthwhile, which, I mean,
That would have been a good
people
Twitter
people
So
see how
Jim,
much I'm on Twitter.
So Jim, what do you reach for?
Knob Creek is up there. Maker's Mark. Those are kind of the number one and number two.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what other. I enjoyed Maker's Mark at a gathering. There's an organization called the Citizens of Wyoming Placed in the East, the Wyoming State Society, branch in Washington D.C. The acronym is CowPie. And they had a nice little get together in which they had basically all the Maker's Mark you could drink. For the so I fell in love with Maker's Mark that night. I don't remember much
Maker's Mark-
after.
How did you feel
Maker's
about
Mark
it the next morning?
is good.
I don't recall.
See, that is how I judge a liquor. Let me just tell you. I may fall in love with it that night. And yes, I'm looking at you, Fireball. But the next morning, we're not friends.
Oh yeah, I had a really bad falling out with Southern Comfort, and we never repaired our relationship. So
Yes, I have that
lot
same
of Southern
problem.
girls. The breakups are tough.
Yes,
You know,
yes, they are. Yes, they are. Now,
you never
to
forget,
me,
so to speak.
when I go out, I tend to stick with what I know. And what I know is that I love Captain Morgan Spice Rum and preferably diet caffeine-free soda. But they don't always have that, so it's usually like a Captain and Diet, or as we like to call it, a Skinny Pirate. What things can you do with Captain Morgan's?
Oh, just about anything you like. I mean, there are several rum recipes out there. Some of them call for, Captain Morgan is a spiced rum, so that kind of changes the profile of whatever drink you're working on. But there's a drink that I wrote up for the Federalist that is a golden Lillet martini.
Ooh, I
And-
like the way that sounds.
Yes, if you ever had Lillet Blanc, it's a nice little French it's not quite a vermouth. It's a sweet white wine kind of thing. It's got honey and kind of floral elements to it, and you mix that with some spiced rum, and you stir it up or shake it up, however you prefer it.
You know what I like about martinis?
Mm.
It's not the like fancy chocolate whatever martinis, but just martinis in general. They're all booze.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are some people.
I love ordering a martini because it's a mixer of booze with booze.
Yeah, 9 parts gin to a half part vermouth is how some people like to take it. Well, you just wave the vermouth bottle at the bowl full of gin.
I like the ones when people just ask them to hold the vermouth. Just skip that part entirely.
I was going to say, if you're troubled by the ice or in a typical drink, watering it down, if you make ice cubes out of booze, then as they melt, they just make it even. They just add to the booze. So that's a theory to avoid a watered down drink.
Well, now you can get stone rocks that you can keep cold so that you don't water down your booze. Neil, what do you think are probably the most popular traditional alcoholic beverages to be?
Oh well,
would that be drunk? I don't know. Also a great game for the holidays, by the way.
Well, of course you've got eggnog. That's a traditional one. And I actually have a recipe for eggnog if you all would like to hear it.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to email it to me, I'll also post it up on our Facebook page too.
Oh, spectacular! Yeah, I'll email you that. But the eggnog that I like, I have a recipe where you make it from scratch. It's not as thick as the stuff you get out of the carton, but it still has a lot of rich flavor.
And this goes back to what Jim and I were talking about last week. Making your own food.
Yes.
Not everything comes out of a carton.
Correct. Now you can always, if you're in a hurry and you have a party, take the carton, pour the glass, and dump some bourbon or some rum or brandy in there if you want, whichever you prefer. But if you have a little bit of time and you want to craft it, you can do this. Now this one has a raw egg in it, and I know some people don't like that, get weirded out, but it's perfectly safe to do. And it really adds a lot. So what you need is 1.5 ounces of Remy 1738. This is the exact recipe that this fellow gave.
Remy
Martin 1738. 1 ounce of Virginia apple cider, not the hard cider, but just the spiced cider you get in the carton. A dash of cream, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And so what you do is you place all of these ingredients into the shaker. And then before you add any ice or anything, you give it a dry shake so that you can emulsify the egg and mix the ingredients up a little bit. That's a very important step. Then you add the ice and you shake for about 2 minutes. And the longer you shake this drink, it's sort of like a Ramos Gin Fizz. It thickens up the mixture, gets it so that it's nice and creamy and kind of aerated. Then you strain this into a coupe glass, which is the sort of rounded little cocktail glass.
I love that you know what kind of glass it's supposed to go in.
I feel like I should be taking notes at this point.
I know. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm trying.
This is
I'm
so
trying
awesome.
to
I'm literally okay. Those who listen to the show all the time know that I am rarely stunned silent, but I am paying such close attention right now. One would think you were delivering a presidential address. Actually. Probably more so. Continue.
Let's be clear. But so yeah, you strain it into the coupe glass, and then you just garnish it with a little bit of cinnamon, and you take a sip, and it's delicious. It really is. It
sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give that a shot. And I certainly hope that our listeners will as well. And I definitely will get that up on our Facebook page. Now, for me, I'm very simple in the mornings. I like a good Bailey's and coffee. Is there a morning drink that people tend to stick to in the holidays? I have a friend who's a big fan of those poinsettias, the champagne with just a dash of cranberry.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was one of the drinks I wanted to share.
Oh, no way! Yes,
it was, and we can go ahead and do that. Yeah, the thing about the poinsettia is that it can be a morning drink, sort of like a mimosa or a Bellini, or you can take it into the evening if you have a party. They're very easy to prepare, so and they add kind of a little elegance to the occasion.
Ooh, and your plastic glasses you can have.
Indeed.
Liquored up in an elite manner. None of this low class drunkenness.
But they're very easy. You just have a half ounce of Cointreau or triple sec, and 3 ounces of cranberry juice. and you make sure you chill all of your ingredients beforehand. That's the important part. So then you would pour the Cointreau and cranberry juice into a chilled champagne flute. Now you can chill the flute by putting it in the freezer before you do it, or you can put